During project number 1, we're going to take a look at mastering the Microsoft Excel macro recorder. Let me give you an example of what we're going to accomplish here. Open in front of you, I've got the example file called Inserting and Formatting Text. It's an Excel file .xlsx. So make sure you follow along with me. You can do the exact same steps and you can get the idea of working with the Excel macro recorder. Inside of here, I got 3 worksheets. The first one is really the one that I want to focus in on right now. The other 2 we're going to use later on. So East Records. Imagine this. This is some data that you dump down from some system, some backend, some database, some management tool, whatever it is. You've dumped it into Excel. And it's just raw data. It's got a few columns in it, nothing big. It's a small example. But what I want to do here is I want to put some headers in. I want to be region, expense, and I want to do 3 months, January, February, March, and I want to do a total. This should be a nice little calculation here, summing up these 3 values. So I want to put the headers in there. I want to format those headers. I want to format the data. I want to get the data looking good. Okay? Well, we're going to do a little bit of macro recorder here. So first step, I'm going to go up to my View tab, top of my screen. On the View tab, I'm going to go over to Macros, far right hand side. I'm going to click on the little down arrow there, and I'm going to go into Record Macro. Now this opens up our Record Macro dialog box. It's going to ask you just a couple of little questions here, nothing big. First thing, wants to know the name of our macro. This helps us later on so that when we go back to run the macro, when we want to use it, well, we look for it by its name. So here, I'm just going to call this add headers. Okay? Now you'll notice within my macro name, I'm not putting a space in. In fact, Excel macros will not allow you to put spaces in their names. If you do, and you hit OK, it's going to ding at you, say, nope, 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 nope. Can't do that. So no spaces inside your macro names. I try to keep them short, to the point. You know, I can want to be able to look at the name and say, oh yeah, I know what that macro does. But no spaces in there. Optionally, you can give a macro shortcut key. So I can come in here and I could say, I want my shortcut key to be Control J. Great. Got J inside there. Now when I want to be able to run my macro, I press Control J and I run my macro. Okay? Now you can also use Shift. I did Shift J there. Now my shortcut becomes Control plus Shift plus the J key. There's my shortcut key. Let's just do J for now. I got Control J. Now the next option asks us about storing the macro. This wants to know a couple of things. One, where do you want to store the macro? Do you want to put it inside of this workbook, meaning the active workbook that we're currently working inside of? Or do you want to put it inside of another workbook? You actually got 3 options. So this workbook, put it in the one that you're working in. You can put it in what's called the personal macro workbook, or you can put it inside of a brand new workbook that it will create at the time of recording, and it'll store it in there. Now, what's the deal here? Why did they give you 3 options? Well, if I put it inside of this workbook, the macro, the automation that I create, is only available in this workbook, the one that I'm working in right now. I open up some other Excel document, I don't have the code. If I send this document to somebody else, a coworker, a friend, whoever, they'll get the macro as well. If I put it in the personal macro workbook, the personal macro workbook is a workbook that's always open on your computer. You got Excel open on your system. The personal macro workbook is open as well. It's just hidden in the background. We don't see it. It's just hidden in the background. But you store a macro in there. That macro is then available, and any automation that it does is available in any workbook that you open on your system. Great. You want to create some automation that you want to be able to reuse all over the place? Put it in the personal one. So for our example, at least to start out with, let's keep it this workbook. Let's just put it inside the one. Now we get to give it a description. Some type of additional information, perhaps informing ourselves or the users of this macro, what this macro is all about. So I'm just going to say automate adding headers to the worksheet. Okay? Put some notes inside there, a description of what the automation, what the macro does. So a couple little things. Give it a name. Remember, no spaces. Optionally, a shortcut key. Tell it where do you want to store it, where's this thing going to be available to me, and also optionally, any description, additional notes that you want to put in. That's it. Now, I'm going to hit OK, but the moment that I hit OK, Excel will start recording my actions. So I hit OK, Excel's recording. I start doing something, whatever it is. I click in a cell, I click on a command, I run a shortcut key, whatever I do. It's going to write it down. It's going to record my actions. All right. I'm going to hop up to cell A3. I'm going to click into there. And I'm going to type in region. I'll hit my tab key, move over. I'm going to type in expense or category, whatever we want to call that column. I'm going to do 3 months. I'll do January, February, March. And this will be my total. All right, I'm going to hit my enter key there. So remember, Excel just wrote that all down. It said, hey, you clicked into cell A3, you typed in region, you moved over to B3, you typed in expense, and so on and so on. It wrote all of that down. Now let's do a little bit more here. I'm going to go ahead and highlight that data. I'm going to go to my home tab, and I'm going to do a little bit of formatting. Whatever you want to do, just get those headers to stick out a little. I'm going to make them blue. I'll change the font to white, make it bold. Now, whatever you want to do there, just keep in mind, as you're working, Excel is busy writing it all down. Because later, you want to be able to repeat these same steps. So keep going if you like to, whatever you want to do. Add the headers, center align them, whatever you want to do to those headers. Once you're done, once you're all done doing that, last step, I'm all done, I don't want to record anything else. Down here in the lower left corner of my screen, I got a stop button. Make sure, very important, make sure you stop recording once you're done. Or you can go back to your View tab, back to Macros, and you can stop recording from there. So again, go ahead and complete it. Do whatever you like with those headers. Once you're done, hit stop recording, and then we'll move into our next step.